Welcome to the Deep Dive. Really excited today. We're tackling a field that's incredibly important, but maybe not always center stage.
Yeah.
We're talking about learning and development consultants, L&D, right?
That's right. Shaping how organizations grow their talent.
Exactly. And we've got this fantastic set of materials here, basically interview questions and detailed answers from L&D experts. It's like a peek behind the curtain, you know?
A real inside look.
So our mission today is to pull out the key wisdom, maybe some surprising bits, and the practical stuff. What really makes a great L&D consultant tick, and why are they so vital now?
And I think, understanding this helps everyone, whether you're thinking about becoming one or maybe need to hire one, or honestly, just if you want to get how learning actually drives success in business today.
It's about seeing why it matters, not just what they do.
Precisely.
Okay, let's jump right in. What pulls someone into L&D in the first place? What's the draw?
Our sources talk a lot about a real passion for helping people grow, reaching their potential. Yeah, it's definitely got that human element, but it's more than just feeling good, right? It's also about shaping the employee experience, boosting performance, and this is key, making sure talent aligns with the big business goals.
So personal growth meets organizational strategy.
You got it. And the absolute first step for a consultant walking into a company, assessing the training needs. Critically important.
Okay, so how do they do that?
Yeah.
It can't just be asking people what training they want, can it?
Oh, definitely not. I mean, that's part of it maybe, but it's much deeper. It's a multi-pronged thing. You're doing stakeholder interviews, talking to leaders, managers, you're using surveys, analyzing performance data, hard numbers, and doing job task analysis.
Job task analysis. Break that down a bit for us. Sounds detailed.
It is. Think of it like taking a job apart piece by piece. What specific tasks does someone do? And for each task, what skills, what knowledge do they actually need? It gets really granular. But it means you're finding the real gaps between where people are now and where they need to be, not just guessing.
All right, so you can prioritize properly. No point training people on things they don't actually need for the business.
Exactly. Which leads to the next big piece, making sure the training is actually impactful.
How do you guarantee that? Or, well, maybe not guarantee, but ensure it's not just, ticking a box.
Yeah, guarantee is a strong word. But you get close by tying everything back to the overall business objectives. Always.
So understanding the company's strategic goals first.
Absolutely. Before you even think about designing a course, what's the company trying to achieve this year, next year? Then you design learning interventions that directly help reach those goals.
Makes sense.
And something our sources really stress, involve key stakeholders early, like really early.
Why is that so critical? Just for buy-in?
Well, buy-in is huge, yeah, but it's also about alignment, making sure what you think is important actually matches what the business leaders see as priorities. Getting them involved from the start avoids problems later. It really sets you up for success.
Okay, so needs assessed, strategy aligned, stakeholders on board. Now, the actual design of the learning experience. What frameworks do L&D pros lean on? The sources mention ADDIE. Analysis, design, development, implementation, evaluation. That sounds pretty structured.
It is. ADD is kind of the classic, the bedrock, provides the solid systematic process. Analysis, design, develop, implement, evaluate, step by step.
But is it always that linear? Business moves fast.
That's a great point. And that's where other models come in, or at least elements of them, like SAM, the successive approximation model.
SAM, how's that different?
It's more iterative, more agile. You design, build, test, refine in smaller loops, get feedback faster. It's really useful when things are changing quickly or you're not totally sure of the final solution right at the start. Lets you be more flexible.
Sort of building and tweaking as you go.
Kind of, yeah. A blend of structure and agility is often the best bet.
Okay, design models aside, people learn differently. How do you make sure training works for, everyone? Visual learners, hands-on learners.
Yeah, accessibility and diverse learning styles are huge. The key is variety. Don't just lecture. Mix it up. Use visuals, sure, but also interactive stuff, group discussions where people talk to each other, hands-on practice.
Trying to hit all the bases.
Pretty much. Make it engaging and accessible for as many people as possible.
Let's make it concrete. The sources mention a leadership program for mid-level managers. Used blended learning, real-world scenarios. What did that blended approach actually involve?
Blended usually means mixing different delivery methods. So for that leadership program, it might have been some self-paced online modules people do on their own schedule.
Okay, flexible.
Right. But then combined with, say, live virtual workshops for discussion, skill practice, maybe Q&A with experts.
So you still get interaction.
Exactly. And maybe even in-person sessions for tackling really complex case studies pulled from their actual work. It's about using the best method for each part of the learning.
In this program, it apparently got results. A 30% jump in leadership competency scores in 6 months. That
Mhm.
sounds significant.
It is significant, and that raises a good question,
Mm.
What makes a program truly successful? It's not just that people finished it.
Right. It's not just attendance tracking.
No, it's about seeing that measurable change. That 30% meant managers were actually demonstrating better skills, maybe in communication or strategic thinking, whatever the program targeted. Did
Yeah.
the training actually change how people do their jobs? That's the real measure of
That
success.
makes sense. Okay, shifting gears a bit. Remote work, hybrid teams, that's the reality now. How does L&D adapt? Delivering training online isn't always easy.
No, it's a huge adaptation. And it's more than just putting PowerPoint slides on Zoom or Teams.
Hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need to leverage the tech, sure, learning management systems, virtual classrooms, but the design has to change. Content needs to be more modular, shorter chunks, highly interactive, lots of chances for people to collaborate, talk to each other, get feedback from the facilitator.
So designing for the online environment, not
Mhm.
just transferring old classroom stuff.
Exactly. It's about digital-first engagement, keeping people connected and involved even when they're not in the same room.
And what about the tools? Making this engaging e-learning requires specific software, right?
Oh, absolutely. The sources mention tools like Articulate 360, Adobe Captivate. These let you build those interactive modules, quizzes, simulations.
The offering tools.
Right. And then you have the big learning management systems, the LMSs like SAP SuccessFactors or Cornerstone. They deliver, track, and manage all the learning across the organization. They're essential for scale.
Okay, so we've designed and delivered. Now, measuring impact. We mentioned Kirkpatrick's 4 levels earlier. Reaction, learning, behavior, results.
The classic model.
Level 1, reaction, do they like it? Level 2, learning, did they learn something? Those seem doable. But level 3, behavior, are they doing things differently back on the job? And level 4, results, did it impact the business?
That sounds harder.
Oh, it is. That's the holy grail, really. Levels 3 and 4 are where L&D really proves its value, but they're tougher to measure. How do consultants tackle that? Especially level 4, the business impact.
For level 3, behavior, you need more than just surveys. You need observations, manager feedback, maybe 360-degree assessments over time. For level 4, results, you've got to connect the training to actual business KPIs. Things like sales numbers, customer satisfaction scores, error rates, employee retention.
Trying to show that cause and effect.
Right. And demonstrating ROI, the return on investment. That often involves analyzing pre- and post-training performance data, looking at productivity metrics, maybe even promotion rates for those who took the training.
Gathering evidence from lots of places.
Exactly. You need feedback from participants and their managers. It's about building a strong case with data, even though it's sometimes hard to isolate just the training's impact.
Yeah, other things are always happening in a business. Okay, let's talk reality. Resistance. People don't always jump for joy when mandatory training comes along.
No, they don't.
So-
Resistance is pretty standard. It can come from feeling overloaded, not seeing the point, sometimes just fear of change.
How do you handle that? The sources mention talking one-on-one with a hesitant department head.
Yeah, that direct engagement is key. You can't just mandate. You need to understand why they're resistant. So sit down, listen, clarify how the training helps them, specifically their team, their goals. Maybe even tweak the content based on their feedback. It's about building trust and showing the relevance.
Making them part of the solution, not just the recipient.
Exactly. Address the what's in it for me factor.
And what about during a training session? If someone's clearly struggling or disengaged?
That's delicate. First step is try to figure out why. Is the content too hard? Are they just bored? Is something else going on for them personally?
Diagnose before prescribing.
Right. Then you adapt. Maybe offer extra help, pair them with someone, adjust the activity. Sometimes it might mean a follow-up conversation or recommending one-on-one coaching later.
Yeah.
It's about support, not judgment.
Okay, another common hurdle mentioned, just low engagement overall, maybe with online modules.
Yeah.
How is that tackled?
Yeah, the classic click-through problem. One example involved gamification.
Making it like a game. Points, badges.
Yeah, points, leaderboards, badges, things that tap into that competitive or achievement drive, but also, crucially, making the content super relevant to their actual jobs and recognizing or rewarding participation. It wasn't just about fun, it was smart psychology.
Did it work?
Apparently, engagement rates jumped over 40%. So yeah, it can be really effective when done well. Shows you need creative solutions sometimes.
Definitely. Okay, moving up a level.
Mm-hmm.
How do L&D consultants operate strategically? They're not just creating courses on demand, right?
Oh, absolutely not. The best ones are strategic partners. They're involved in developing the entire learning strategy for the organization.
Like a roadmap.
Exactly. Maybe a multi-year roadmap that maps out learning priorities, onboarding, leadership tracks, technical skills, all directly tied to where the business is headed. They're architects of the learning ecosystem.
And part of that architecture involves competency frameworks. What role do those play?
Competency frameworks are foundational. They define what good looks like for different roles, both the technical skills and the soft skills, like communication or teamwork.
Okay, so they set the standard.
Right. And then those standards guide everything.
Mm-hmm.
Who you hire, how you assess performance, what training people need, how they can advance their careers.
So they connect L&D to HR and performance management.
Absolutely. The key challenge is keeping them current. Business needs change. So the competencies have to evolve too. It requires ongoing review.
Makes sense. And what about coaching leaders? Is that part of the L&D consultant role too?
Often, yes. Especially coaching managers on how to develop their own teams. It's usually a consultative approach, helping managers identify their team's strengths, growth areas, then co-creating development plans, setting milestones, checking in. It's about enabling managers to be better coaches themselves.
Empowering the managers. Okay, and when launching something new, building rapport with stakeholders seems critical. Any secrets there?
Well, no magic secrets, but solid practices. Number one, active listening. Really, truly understanding their perspective, their pressures, their needs.
Don't just talk, listen.
Right. Involve them early, like we said before, and clearly communicate the benefits for them. How does this initiative make their life easier or help their team hit its targets? Show them the value proposition.
Build that trust.
Exactly. Trust is everything for collaboration.
Okay, one last practical question. Consultants often juggle tons of projects. How do they manage it all without dropping the ball?
Yeah. Project management is key. Prioritization is huge. What's going to have the biggest impact? What are the hard deadlines? Using tools helps things like Trello, Asana, whatever works. But a big piece in L&D is clear, constant communication.
Keeping everyone in the loop.
Managing expectations, especially around how long things take, like developing good content or getting stakeholder feedback. That prevents a lot of headaches.
Got it. So with everything changing, so fast tech, business needs, learning science, how do these consultants stay current?
They have to be continuous learners themselves. It's non-negotiable in this field. Our sources point to things like following key thinkers on platforms like LinkedIn, reading industry publications, ATD, training industry magazine, attending webinars, conferences.
Immersing themselves in the field.
And participating in L&D communities, sharing ideas, asking questions, challenging each other. You can't design effective learning if you're not learning yourself.
That's a great point. So wrapping this up, it's really clear L&D consulting is incredibly multifaceted. You've got the strategy, the needs analysis, the instructional design, the delivery, the tech, handling resistance, measuring real impact.
Yeah.
It's a huge range.
It really is a blend of analytical, creative, and people skills.
And I think the big takeaway for our listeners is that L&D isn't just a nice-to-have training department off in a corner. It's fundamentally about strategic talent development. It's about building organizational capability, adaptability, basically future-proofing the workforce.
Absolutely. It's a core driver of success. And maybe a final thought for people to chew on. How can you apply these L&D principles, assessing needs, designing experiences, thinking about impact to your own growth, or even within your team, even if you don't have a formal L&D consultant?
Like finding the hidden learning opportunities.
Exactly. In projects, in feedback, even in listening to things like this. The principles of strategic learning are powerful, whether you have the job title or not. How can you be your own L&D expert?